Good afternoon. We've got Sean Moore with us today, the CRI Research Manager. Welcome to our studio, Sean. Normally we're at the workshops or at the symposium or wherever, but now we're in our normal environment.
In our habitat.
Yes.
It's more appropriate for the conversation we're going to have.
Yeah, good afternoon,
So welcome.
dear Walter and Louise. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Yeah, so the last time we had a chat on the podcast was 2024, nearly 2 years ago, and you gave us an introduction on IPM and the things that CRI is doing, and we'll link that podcast back into this one. So what has happened in 2 years' time?
Yeah, so I think we've sort of had a bit of an epiphany. We've been passionately and enthusiastically and committedly presenting to the farmers on IPM for years now, probably for decades, based on the research that we've done for the last couple of decades, but we've seen very little actual implementation of what we have spoken about. Okay. So we've tried to bring in a new edge and be more practical about it, rather than just talking about our findings, which we hoped our excitement would be contagious. It's obviously hasn't worked well enough. So we're trying a couple of different angles with the growers.
I would imagine that yes, you can tell growers about it and you can be enthusiastic about it, but they have skin in the game and they are so used to going with the usual, the way my father did it, using chemicals for crop protection, that the conversion to using IPM is kind of scary for them. And I think a lot of it is probably the step into the unknown, and will these bugs actually do what we hope they will do? Yeah. Is that an element?
Absolutely, 100%. There are a couple of illusions at the moment. The one illusion is that the farmers have a choice. And right now, as we speak, they do still have a choice. And they're generally, most of them, making the choice to pursue what they see as the lowest risk option. The reality is, as I say, it's an illusion because the goalposts are shifting. They're just shifting very slowly. They're shifting a lot more slowly than we anticipated they would. We would love to convert our industry to IPM on our own terms. It's not happening. One of the reasons why it's not happening is because of the compulsory calendar spray program that farmers have to follow for citrus black spot. But we know that it's not going to be on our own terms because European regulations are becoming more and more stringent. Tolerance for chemical residues, both from a regulatory perspective and from retailers, is increasing. And we know that things like the European Vision for Agriculture and Food has very clear timelines. So unless those shift, we know that by 2030, that's 4 years from now, things will be a lot more challenging. We're told, not only for European farmers, but for any farmers that produce produce to be exported to Europe. That includes our citrus industry. So that's the first illusion, is that farmers have a choice. That's rapidly running out. The second is that pursuing IPM is higher risk. And our recent study that we conducted with BFAP. And there were a couple of very interesting things that came out of that study. So we traveled the country, Candace and I, interviewing farmers who we had identified as those who were adopting IPM. They were few and far between, sadly, and we identified as many of them and interviewed as many of them as we possibly could. And we asked them a range of questions, including, do you implement IPM? What, in your opinion, is IPM, and why do you implement IPM? One of the surprising answers that came from why do you implement IPM was to avoid surprises, to avoid repercussion pests. So they say, in their experience, the more you spray, the more you're likely to be surprised by a pest you don't expect. The less you spray, the less you're likely to be surprised, because you're not disrupting the natural balance.
Which is the right mindset to have.
Yeah, and so it's logical, but it's something that would only really be discovered through experience. And then the other thing that we discovered is that from interviewing these growers and comparing them with the national averages for export pack out percentage, there was no difference between IPM and conventional pest management. But the costs involved in IPM were about half that of conventional pest management. The number of sprays was about 2/3 that of conventional pest management. And the IPM rating, according to CRI's system based on the IPM compatibility or disruptiveness of what you spray, was about half for the IPM farmers compared to the conventional farmers. So Candace presented that. We will present it again, hopefully with more data at the Citrus Research Symposium, and we will publish it, providing growers with the information to say, well, if I do want to save money, if I want to farm more cost effectively, more affordably, here is a way in which it can be done. And yes, it is scary, especially if you're not familiar with it, if you're not used to it. But we know that volumes of citrus going to our markets, not only from South Africa, but from other producers, is only going to increase. It's only going to get closer to saturation point on the markets. It's only going to put more pressure on prices or income back on the farm. And the only way in which farmers will be able to adapt to that is to reduce on-farm costs so that they can maintain acceptable profit margins.
Wow.
So you were about to say that you were embarking on something
Yeah, sorry,
new.
I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. So we have begun one of our biggest projects that we as a CRI entomology team and CRI extension team have ever embarked upon. Every single CRI entomologist is involved. Every single member of the pre-harvest extension team is involved. That's all of the area extension managers. And what we have done is we have approached at least 2 large influential growers in each of our 4 main production regions, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Eastern Cape, Western Cape. And we have invited them to offer an orchard of Valencias to us and walk with us in converting that orchard from conventional pest management to IPM over a 3-year period. They have agreed that only CRI is allowed to make decisions in that orchard. They are not allowed to make any decisions. And although we will start slightly conservatively, a lot more IPM orientated than is currently being implemented in those orchards, by the end of that 3-year period, we plan to have radical IPM programs in place where there is minimal spraying being conducted and maximum dependence on biological control, which is chiefly conservation of what is already there. Yes, we do support the practice of augmentation of parasitoids and predators in orchards, but it's very low down on the list, contrary to what a lot of people think. Simply releasing beneficial insects into your orchards is not IPM. So you can adopt IPM very effectively without augmenting a single parasitoid or predator into your orchards.
Because obviously there's a cost involved with those parasitoids.
There is a cost involved, and very often it's an unnecessary cost. So Unless those parasitoids and predators are used exactly right,
Yes.
same as any pesticide, then they're not going to work. It's going to be a waste of money. So if you don't release them at the right time, if you don't release them into a conducive environment, you might as well not release them. You'll be wasting your money.
Exactly.
But Sean, what you were just describing, that's hugely exciting, and it's very ambitious, and it's really putting your money where your mouth is.
It absolutely is, because you're right, things may not work out initially as we would like them to and as they should, but we've been very transparent with the growers, and we've said to them, we want your unmitigated commitment to this. It must be a partnership. It mustn't be an us and them. We go hand in hand. And if there are mistakes, we do not consider it as a failure. We consider it as an opportunity to learn and do it better next season. And even aside from that, because there will be mistakes in inverted commas, because every single environment is different. Every single season is different.
The only way you're going to learn is by making a mistake.
And it's not to give the impression that we don't have the expertise and the knowledge to do that. We do, but implementing it in a unique environment that you haven't implemented it in before may bring you challenges that you haven't previously encountered. But that aside, there is a price to pay in converting a chemical heavy orchard to a biological orchard. You need a lag period for those natural enemies in the orchard to recover and build up to a level where you can begin to depend on them. And that's not going to happen within 1 year. So you can expect that in that first year, you will have more damage or more infestation than you would like. It definitely should not be catastrophic if we know what we're doing, but it will likely be more than usual.
But it's good that you know to expect it, and that you and the growers know about this, and that you're going to walk the walk.
But but communication is going to be your...
Yes.
You're going to have to communicate both ways constantly.
Absolutely. So we will... it will be a three-way collaboration between our research entomologists, our extension team, and the grower and the grower staff. And every single week, there will be communication between those three so that everybody knows at all times exactly what is happening.
And these growers that you've identified or approached for this, have they been farming with IPM?
No. No, we specifically didn't select farmers who've been farming according to IPM. That would have been too easy.
Yes.
But what we did do to make things easier for everybody is we selected Valencias, which are a very late-hanging citrus type, because we know that we can then more easily tolerate a level of red scale and mealybug infestation, which will still come clean biologically before harvest. Whereas if we were working on a early harvested cultivar, we wouldn't have that grace period.
Okay, that's very clever. And also throughout the country, it's the same variety. So there isn't that variable as well, that you're doing other different types of citrus.
Right. It'll be the same citrus type, Valencia oranges, but possibly some
different varieties.
difference in variety within Valencias.
So are you ready and good to go? And if so, when are you starting?
We've started already.
Okay.
We have all of our farmers. We have, I think, all of our orchards except one. We are having follow-up meetings with the farmers just to make it very clear what we want in terms of orchard management. So, for example, we want the trees well pruned. We want good inter-row vegetation on the ground to create a good orchard microclimate and create a alternative
Habitat.
resting place habitat for parasitoids and predators in the orchard. We want the trees to be well skirted. We want ant control to be good. We want to, the other thing we'll do is before this harvest, and this is the way, this is probably the very first chronological step in implementing IPM, is you go into the orchard before harvest and you do a thorough analysis of what is on the fruit. So you know, it helps to guide you into how to start the next season. So if there is some red scale on the fruit at harvest, you know you can't get away without doing something for red scale. You need to come in early and do something for it.
So what has prompted you, CRI, to implement something like this? What have people said about it? And are these kind of projects done elsewhere in the world?
I don't know if they're done elsewhere in the world. I haven't heard or read about any such thing. But what's prompted us to do it is we know it is inevitable, and we refuse to give up on what we know is best for the farmers, what we are committed to. We are prepared to stick our necks out and potentially take a temporary beating for the sake of doing the right thing.
You could be prepared for that, or you could also be vastly successful.
Well, I believe we will be successful, and as the growers know, who we have spoken to, it's not going to be an overnight success. It's a transitionary thing, which is why we've given the project 3 years.
And will CRI be involving any of the crop protection companies or agents in this, so that they are also aware of what you guys are doing?
So the way in which we started is we held a training week in PE for all of the CRI personnel who will be involved in the project, down to the level of microscopic evaluations for decision making, particularly for red scale and mealybug, but other pests too. And the response from CRI staff was overwhelming, and we agreed that we should, after our first year of running this project, offer a training course like that to growers, to like-minded growers, potentially the growers, or preferably the growers who are joining us on this IPM Transformation Project, and then subsequently to the agricultural chemical industry as well. I think it'll be eye-opening for them. And yes, we are beginning to draw closer to the ag chem industry, because we don't want them to see us as their opposition, and we don't want to see them as our opposition. We need to get onto the same page for the sake of our citrus farmers.
Sure.
This is hugely exciting. It might be a bit terrifying too, but it's hugely exciting. And it's a case of a 3-year period of assessing things and looking. And after 3 years, you'll have many, many answers. And so will the citrus growers.
Well, exactly. We will. And the other advantage is that CRI staff will be so much more experienced themselves in the detailed implementation of IPM, so that if a grower wants to adopt IPM, they can approach any one of CRI's entomologists or any one of CRI's extensionists and get the right assistance to make that transition.
Well, we're excited to hear about this, and we're certainly looking forward to following this process and seeing where it goes. And the very best of luck with that.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Louise. Thanks, Dewald. We'll maybe talk again in a year or two's time.
No, I think we need to do that. I don't want to say weekly, but this almost needs to be communicated.
No, not weekly. But give us a year.
I think regular updates would be a very good thing, because you created an expectation by saying we're going to be doing this, and there'll be a lot of how's it going.
And 3 years sounds like a long time. It's not long.
No, it's not long. And we've had our detractors. We've had people saying it's not going to work.
Well,
so we're keen to prove them wrong.
Well, the people said that electricity was demons in the wall, so you never know.
The very best of luck, good luck, and we really look forward to finding out how it's going.
Great. Thank you, Louise. Thanks, Dewald.
Thanks, Sean.